Welcome back to Kleppers Corner, where history's greatest hits and absolute dumpster fires all come together so we can laugh at humanity's spectacular inability to just chill. Today is August 24th, which history has apparently reserved for its season finales. If you're a city, prepare to be burned. If you're a nation, get ready to collapse. And if you're Pluto, sorry buddy, but you're about to be bullied by astrophysicists. This date has everything: natural disasters, barbarian invasions, religious massacres, political breakups, and yes, even the scientific equivalent of ghosting a planet. If August 24th had a motto, it'd be, congratulations, you played yourself. Segment 1, Pompeii gets canceled, literally. August 24th, 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius explodes and annihilates Pompeii and Herculaneum. And not just, oops, there's ash on my sandals, annihilates. No, this was, your entire civilization just got preserved like leftovers in grandma's freezer, annihilates. The eruption released 100,000 times the energy of Hiroshima. Pompeii wasn't destroyed, it got Control-Alt-Deleted. Now, to Romans, Vesuvius was considered a god. Imagine worshiping a mountain for centuries only to find out your god is basically a ticking time bomb with anger issues. That's like realizing Zeus isn't throwing lightning bolts, he's just flicking cigarettes into a gas station. Archaeologists later poured plaster into body-shaped voids in the ash, creating lifelike casts of people's final moments, which is equal parts fascinating and horrifying. Imagine if every embarrassing thing you've ever done was preserved forever, like dying mid-sneeze, but now your weird sneeze face is on display at a museum for eternity. Thanks, volcano. And here's the kicker. Turns out it might not have even happened on August 24th. Some evidence suggests October, which means for centuries we've been celebrating the wrong death day. Basically, even history itself is bad at remembering anniversaries. Segment 2. Rome falls and it can't get up. Fast forward to 410 AD. Rome gets sacked by the Visigoths under King Alaric. This was the first time in 800 years the city had fallen. Rome, the eternal city, suddenly wasn't so eternal. The gates were open from the inside, traitors, starving slaves, or maybe just the Roman version of an intern messing up the security codes. Either way, oops. And where was Emperor Honorius during all this? Hiding in Ravenna, which is basically the Roman equivalent of a modern president saying, New York City's on fire, but don't worry, I've got Wi-Fi in Delaware. Alaric wanted concessions, gold, land. Rome said no, so he said, cool, I'll just take everything you own. They looted for 3 days, people were killed, treasures stolen, and yet Alaric spared the major churches, because even Visigoths had better PR instincts than modern politicians. St. Jerome summed it up, the city that took the world has itself been taken, which is poetic, but I think the real translation is, well, crap. Segment 3. Gutenberg prints, humanity loses control. August 24th, 1456, the Gutenberg Bible was completed, the world's first mass-produced book. Before this, books were written by hand, super slow, super expensive, and every typo had to be corrected with, oops, I guess God meant thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's donkey, not donkey cart. But Gutenberg combined metal type, ink, and a press, and suddenly, boom, mass communication. This was TikTok for the 15th century. Instead of dances, the trend was Martin Luther stapling complaints to a church door. Instead of cat videos, you got pamphlets about why the Pope sucks. The printing press took information out of the hands of elites and put it into the hands of everyone, and made literacy possible for more than just monks, kings, and that one nerdy guy who actually read scrolls for fun. Without Gutenberg, no Reformation, no Enlightenment, no Harry Potter. Humanity owes him a lot, and also owes him for Facebook conspiracy posts, so maybe too much. Segment 4. St. Bartholomew's Day, Paris loses its chill. 1572, St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. Paris hosted the wedding of a Catholic princess and a Protestant prince, meant to unite the country. Instead, it was basically the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones, if the Red Wedding lasted for weeks and was endorsed by the Pope. Thousands of Huguenots were slaughtered after a botched assassination attempt. It started as a surgical strike and turned into, hey, why don't we just murder everyone in town while we're at it? It spread across France, tens of thousands dead. The Pope even had a medal minted to celebrate, which, what do you even stamp on that? Congrats on the genocide, 1572, champs. It showed just how fragile power was in France. One royal wedding goes wrong and the entire country is knee-deep in blood. If Bravo existed back then, this massacre would have been called The Real Housewives of Paris Apocalypse Edition. Segment 5. British troops torch Washington 1814. The British burned Washington, D.C. during the War of 1812. They torched the Capitol, the White House, the Library of Congress. Honestly, it was the ultimate Yelp review. Stayed at the presidential mansion. Service, poor, decor, outdated. Burned it down. Would not recommend. Dolly Madison saved George Washington's portrait, proving once again that first ladies do more actual work than the presidents. And the Brits? They left after a day because a hurricane rolled through and put out the fires. Think about that. The only reason Washington wasn't completely destroyed was because Mother Nature played firefighter, which means the White House's first line of defense was weather. Not the Army, not the Navy, just a storm with good timing. Segment 6. NATO signs in, USSR signs out. August 24th, 1949. NATO officially kicks in. Article 5, collective defense. Attack on one is attack on all. The U.S., UK, France, Canada, all in one group project where for once the Americans didn't do all the work, just most of it. Then, exactly 42 years later, August 24th, 1991, Ukraine declares independence from the Soviet Union. 92% voted yes. Which is incredible because even free pizza doesn't get 92% approval. This act essentially ended the USSR. Without Ukraine, the Soviet Union was like a boy band that lost its best singer. You can't just replace Ukraine with Kazakhstan on drums. So in one date, you've got NATO's birth and the USSR's death. The Cold War bookends itself on August 24th. History loves irony, almost as much as it loves watching empires trip over their own shoelaces. Segment 7, Pluto gets demoted. And finally, 2006, Pluto gets demoted from planet to dwarf planet. The International Astronomical Union decided Pluto wasn't big enough to be in the club. Which, yeah, harsh. It's like Pluto went to the solar system fraternity rush and got told, sorry, you're not planet material, but we'll keep your resume on file. Kids cried, science teachers scrambled to rewrite textbooks, and Pluto went from headlining the solar system tour to being the opening act nobody wanted to see. Somewhere, Pluto is still orbiting the sun at the edge of space, quietly muttering, at least I'm bigger than Ceres. In conclusion, so that's August 24th, the date history cannot stop setting on fire. Pompeii, gone. Rome, looted. Paris, bloody. Washington, torched. NATO, born. USSR, dead. Pluto, canceled. If August 24th were a person, it would be that chaotic friend who shows up to brunch and says, I've got news, and suddenly your entire life is collapsing. History doesn't always repeat, but August 24th, it sure knows how to remix.